Welcome to Ask the Accountant, the podcast that is made for you. Weekly podcast live Mondays from 8:30 a.m., released on the podcast service of your choice on Wednesdays. Your main weekly hosts, Aaron, Patrick, and Johann. Got something to ask? Submit your questions below or ask during the show. Podcast loading. We are currently getting everything set up behind the scenes, so sit back, relax, and we will be with you in a few seconds. Enjoy.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Ask the Accountant. It is 8:30 on a Monday morning, which means one thing and one thing only. Aaron and myself are here to talk to you about all things, well, anything really, whether it's news, tech, anything, what we got up to the weekend, what's going on in our firms. So let's start off well and truly, as we always do. Aaron, welcome, and how was your weekend?
Hello, everybody. Yeah, very good weekend, actually. Very good weekend. Chilled. I think we both said that, didn't we? We both said that off air. It was nice to have a chilled weekend because we've got some really busy weeks coming up. So it was just recharge those batteries, get everything in line, test a bit of tech that we'll come on to in a minute, get everything all ready. And also happy WWDC Day, which is another segue for later, isn't it? So yeah, should be a good week coming up. So I'm really excited. In fact, last week I forgot to say at the end of the show, I went to do one of the video spots for QuickBooks, and you've been involved in them before, right? You get the proper team down. So Fresh Cut comes along, which is one of the video production solutions they use. But this one was absolutely brilliant. It was Dragon's Den inspired. So that's where they got the idea from. See you, Johann. Mentioned Dragon's Den and he disappears. All right, okay. Technical difficulties with us, everybody. No problem. We'll just wait for him to connect back up. So how has your day been? Comments-wise, we've got Paul in the chat. Hello, Paul. Glad you're here. Glad that there's got someone to talk to, as my co-host has decided to leave us at this point in time. And go through from there. Now, I know he's got quite a bit to talk about, Johan. It was his show today, so I don't want to ruin too much of what he's got. But let's do some of the actual go through and what we've actually got to talk about. So 8:30 a.m. is when we go live normally. And don't forget then, once we go live normally at 8:30 a.m., you can grab this from your podcast service of choice. Johan, you're back. How?
I'm back.
It's a good job we're doing the technical special today, really, isn't it? We can talk tech and find out what went wrong with your system. But
Google Chrome decided it wanted to work.
Before you tell us, though, let me just finish off on what we're doing. So it was Dragon's Den inspired. We went over to a really cool client who in the middle of Birmingham. And it was one of these where it was a full day of filming for 5 minutes worth of content. So when it does come out, it'll be good to see it. But yeah, that just shows you behind the scenes of actually how this works. But yeah, it was a full day, absolutely, literally from 9 o'clock till what was it, about 7? We finished. We finished. So yeah, madness. But all good.
They are
what about you,
long days. I had a team from Fresh Cut up in Edinburgh a couple of years ago, and we were doing 2.5 minute videos. With one with each client.
Yep.
3 days of filming in different locations and interviews, and oh my god, I was broken after that.
It makes you think, doesn't it? Like, because I've been looking up at one of our clients. They've invited me to a film set lately because they're looking for funding and all this and the other. And I wanted to get my hands dirty and get involved. And I was there for a full day. A couple of times, and each one of these was like 2 minutes of a feature-length film. So you add those days up, like, it's serious money, isn't it? They get spent like what is there, 20 plus people on set without the actors, like just the crew. So yeah, it's crazy really when it comes in. But that's the kind of production values needed these days, isn't it? I have neglected the chat though while we were talking. So shall we?
Fine. Let's jump on the chat and say hello to everyone. So We've got morning Paul, as always. We can count on him to be here. Morning Ashley. No, I just had a slight issue with Google Chrome deciding it doesn't want to be Google Chrome anymore. But it's all right. We've restarted it. It's fine. LinkedIn user. Good morning. Morning to Lewis and Yuri. And Ashley has spotted that I'm now here. Good morning, Merlin and Ashley. Yes, we are at Digital Accountancy Show next week. We'll talk more about it next week. We're going to have a big session on that next week. But we are there. We are going to be filming loads of content. Aaron and I are speaking with Jordan Vickery about the importance of events and how they can help accounting and bookkeeping firms to grow and build better relationships with their clients. In the same way, holding events helps software providers with accounting firms. So we'll be doing that. And then I've got another 2 speaking slots on top of that as well, just to keep me really busy. But we'll talk about that next week, and morning Andy as well. This week, as Aaron mentioned when he was doing his review of this weekend, can I point out we've not mentioned the improved Mercedes performance at the F1 this weekend. That was very promising. But more important, today is WDC Day for the Apple fans amongst us. Which means basically at 6 o'clock tonight, Aaron and I will be glued to YouTube or the Apple website, wherever we're going to sit and watch it. And we're going to find out what all the latest new toys are, shall we say. No, it's tech, but it is like a new toy box for us, and the new softwares and what it's all going to do. And the reason we wanted to talk about that today is it doesn't just impact us on a personal level. It actually impacts us on our business level. Like I know my client meetings are more informed when I have my iPad available to be able to look at things and do things and take my notes and stuff. They look more professional. It's more in brand than me using a bit of paper. Our phones are now enabling us to have more connectivity and do our Zoom calls and stuff everywhere. And there's a big release rumored to be happening today, which is in the form of a AR headset, basically. So, Aaron, you've done videos on AR in the past, and you've tried to run QuickBooks from AR in the past. So, talk us through why AR is going to be potentially a groundbreaking bit of technology for us, and what are the opportunities for us as an accounting or bookkeeping firm, or any business for that matter, that AR could bring to us?
So, quick technical point there. It is VR that they're still, it's VR and AR. So just to clarify on what the difference is, because I think this is important, because I think when we're looking at future, one of those, it's going to be a competing brand, right? And one of those is going to come out on top. So VR is that virtual reality. You put your headset on and you can't see anything else. All you can see is whatever the software providers decided you want to see. AR, though, augmented reality, is you put the headset on, you can still see the real world, but you've got little bits popping up here and there. And the idea would be, and the best way I could describe it is, if you like your films, Iron Man, when he's got his suit on and he's going through and it's got telling him, how much power he's got in his suit and all that sort of stuff. That's AR, that's augmented reality. Now, with this push for VR, and I think the reason I'm excited about Apple being involved is because I feel like this could be the first time when it becomes a mainstream product. At the moment, you have the opportunity to go and buy VR equipment. I've got one just here, quote unquote, like the best in the business for business people at the moment. It's supposed to be it's called the Meta Quest Pro. And the idea would be that Facebook, who are Meta now and have it's their business orientated VR solution. So in theory, it should be, quote unquote, the best one for use for business. The problem we have at the moment is that from a VR point of view, there's just not enough adoption. Like there isn't enough of a buzz out there for software developers. And, from a software point of view, that why would they put their resources into making a VR capable or VR compatible XYZ? Yeah. Because there's not enough adoption there. There's not enough people going, oh, that's going to work for me and going to be cool for me. So I feel that's what's always held it back. And when you think about it, like how many times have you gone onto Facebook or Instagram or anything and bought something off their app store? Probably never. Probably didn't even know there was an app store for those devices, right? But there's a whole app store ecosystem that's in there. Whereas for Apple, we download them probably once a week or whatever, don't we? Trying out a different app here and a different app there.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's going to be the big kind of reason why I'm excited, because finally we've got an opportunity to be to have the chance to, grab a piece of tech that could hit the mainstream that actually could fundamentally change the way that we actually do business and go forward. Because for me, VR, when I'm sat at my desk, I don't see that much of a use for it in reality. Yes, there's gaming applications and they're fine, and they're there's something a bit quirky about them, and for a bit of entertainment, brilliant. But what I'm really interested in is how can we use it for business, and how can we use it to help us deliver our services. And again, if I'm sat at my desk, it's probably not going to be helpful to me, even with that utopia of you just put your mask in, you can have a virtual meeting with someone. That's fine, but actually, if I'm at my desk, it's much easier, much more convenient just to jump on Teams or Zoom.
Yep.
So I still feel like that's not the target audience. What I feel like the target audience is when I'm not at my desk, when I'm away from my desk. I feel that's where a solution like what's behind me would work perfectly. Now, we're not in that social acceptance yet of sitting at a cafe, putting on your VR headset and going to work, right?
Yeah.
We're going to get some comments. We're going to feel a bit awkward about it. But I do feel like when that acceptance is there, that could be the future, but not with a chunky headset like that, but with something that's sleek and easy to put on. If they were just your glasses and that was the tech back at, a couple of years down the line, or however long it's going to take to get there, then that really works, right? You stick your glasses on, you could have the biggest screen you could ever need, and you're off to the races, and you're going to be as productive as if you were at your desk. Because that's the problem, right? As soon as we're away from our desk, we're less productive.
Yeah, I think that bit there that you just touched on, the screen bit, that's, for me, the most obvious win here is I will be able to put on my AR headset, a VR headset, at my desk or on a train, and I would have basically unlimited screen real estate, because I won't need to have screens, because I can set up screens in the virtual reality world and keep naming them as different monitors. I'm not going to be limited to how many screens my laptop can plug into or having to carry screens with me. I'm just going to have my headset, and I can have this ultra wide screen if I'm doing video editing, or I could have a number of screens with different things on different screens. That's the first use case I think would be very useful for any business owner that needs multiple monitors. I go to my client who runs a electrical business. They're out doing repair jobs, and he's got this. I'm very jealous of it. He's got this tilted 4-monitor thing coming back at him, and he's like, I can see where my vehicles are, I can see where my books are, I can do this and I can do this. And it's like, that's quite cool, but it's not a cheap setup to have, because you're not just going to set up the monitors and pay for the monitors. You need all the connecting gear to do it.
Yeah.
So VR, I can imagine being quite good for that. So what are we expecting Apple to announce today with their VR? Or do we think this is going to be quite a shallow, just a foot in the water type thing?
Well, your point at the beginning about AR, VR, I think that's the bit that's still a question mark. Everyone's assuming it's going to be a VR capable device. Yep. And I think that's right. I think that's what we're going to have. But a lot of people are hopeful that it's kind of almost an AR plus VR. And the reason that AR becomes exciting is because that's your chance. And it doesn't really work for our industry. But if you think for doctors or something like that, where they're very hands-on or mechanical or whatever it's going to be, it's that idea that you could stick on a headset and the person who is guiding you through or helping you through or trying to get another diagnostic or something can see what you're seeing and help you along and give you tips and tricks and all that sort of stuff on there. That to me, really exciting. And, I'm hopeful that however the technology works, that there is that opportunity of not just being VR, but they're going to look at AR as well, because I think that's where the excitement, even if it's just imagine you call up the tech line on anything, on Apple, and you're like, right, I've got a problem with this phone, and they're like, oh, put it in front of it, and then they could go through it with you, what to do and everything. They could put a little video in the top right hand corner what it should look like or whatever it needs to be. And I think that to me is exciting, and that's where I feel like that's what they need to do to bring this to mainstream. They need it to be part of day-to-day use, right? And that's when it starts to, the adoption starts to come through. I do think that what's going to be announced, or what we've been told, is this is going to be a very, very premium device, which is going to be limited in numbers and will basically be the beta testing of what's to come, which is slightly annoying, isn't it? Because that means that for the vast majority of people, they're not going to get this device. In fact, I think you even mentioned that it might even be US only. So it could even be the fact that
rumor has it could be US only.
Yeah, so we could just be looking at afar going, oh, that's a nice bit of tech. But yeah, I don't know yet. I don't know if that's something that we're going to be able to buy or even use. But I do feel like whatever this first step into it is going to be something to keep an eye on. But I think what Apple does well, and this is where they're going to have a step up in the right direction, is they make things seamless and an ecosystem. One of the most frustrating things about that device behind there is there's always something holding you back. It could be, you've got to connect into this account and connect to there for it to work, or just filing that VAT return on QuickBooks. I feel like I must be one of the first in the UK to have filed in VR, maybe even the first, right? And it was a 1-minute video. It looked sleek, it looked like it was slick and easy to do, but in the background, that was a long time to get to that point, right? And I jumped through a lot of hoops, and there was a lot of problems to get to there. It wasn't just plug and play. But I feel like what Apple can bring to the table is that plug and play mentality. The idea that your phone, for example, will just instantly connect to it, right? So if you need to put an input in, or you want to choose whatever it is, you want to consume some media, whatever it's going to be, you'll just be able to pick it up on the phone and off you go to the races. Whereas that one, because it's its own ecosystem that not really people use, and unless you're a die-hard Facebook fan, it's tricky to kind of get the most out of it. So I feel like that's where they're going to come through, and hopefully it is going to be something that is more comfortable to wear, and then they will go down that sort of optics. And I think if they can nail those bits, which is what Apple does best, then I think that's how we'll have something that could be a little bit more mainstream, is what we need for this technology to be adopted.
Definitely. Brilliant. Is there anything else we're expecting from Apple today that we think actually that could be there's one thing that I'm personally very interested in, and that's the virtual voice. So Apple's done a huge push on health, hasn't it, over the last few years, and monitoring using the watch for heart attacks, etc., monitoring for falls, etc., which is fantastic for people who are vulnerable to falling. But also, they've already announced it. It's coming out later this year. There's a raft of accessibility, as they call it, features. And one is the ability to bank your voice, which most people have probably never heard of. But basically, the idea is that for years now, you've been able to, if you get diagnosed with some kind of degenerative disease or illness, that you're going to be able to record your voice using X amount of phases, and they will process that with a computer, so that you have then a computerized voice box. And this is very much what Stephen Hawking had on his wheelchair. So it's that. But to do this, my dad's got multi-neurons disease, so he went through this a couple of years ago to do it. Takes hours and hours. And if you don't catch it soon enough, like multi-neurons disease soon enough, and you don't recognize it soon enough, and you don't get access to the voice banking technology soon enough, the quality of what they produce is actually quite poor. Whereas what Apple have done is they've made it a 15-minute exercise on your phone. So any one of us could now bank our voice using about 150, 250 phases, I believe it's going to be using. And AI is going to deal with the rest for us, so that if we ever lose our voice, we've got a computerized system there in our phone. That means we can type out what we want to say, and it will say it in our own true voice. So from a personal point of view, I know that would have been a much easier process for my dad. It's free of charge, which would have saved the NHS a fortune because voice banking up till now has not been cheap. And what they're demoing controlled data, but from what they demoed, it was a much more natural sounding voice. So yeah, I'm very excited about that use of AI and that the power of having that on a phone, for anyone that's worried that they might be at risk of degenerative voice, etc. But even if you lost your voice for a few days, how useful would that be? Like, it's amazing how challenging life gets when you've lost your voice because you've got a cold or something for a few days. But yeah, is there any other tech out there that you've seen rumors of that they're bringing to the operating softwares or anything that could really power the experience in our firms and make us more efficient?
Yeah, so WWDC is more software focused. So you don't normally get too much hardware from this event. But from a software point of view, like the voice banking technology is really, really fascinating to me as well. I think you're right. I think it's one of those, isn't it, where it's quietly going to be introduced, but it will be a massive game changer.
Yeah.
I know of people who have still got voicemails from from loved ones who sadly passed away, but they're so protective over that, and they're scared of the day that voicemail is going to go, that sort of thing. So that can bring comfort, right? And that can massively help. And from a creative point of view, the idea that we could have opportunities to change things or dub over voicemail or whatever we're going to use for it is going to be powerful for that sort of thing. Like you said, even if you just lose your voice, it's going to be great. So I love that. And I think what that shows is this should be a step in the right direction of Apple saying, look, we're miles behind on AI at this point. Siri compared to your Google voice assistant compared to the other one that we can't say that begins with A because it will trigger everyone's in their houses. But those devices are far, far more superior as in a service than Siri is.
Yeah.
And Siri has always been hampered by the fact that it was so security focused, which it should be, and we should be security first. But because it was so security focused, it never had its chance to show its legs and what it can do. So I'm hoping that with that AI, because that's got to be a security focused issue with that voice banking scenario, they must have thought or figured out, how do we make this security first? How do we let people do this without feeling there's going to be a security issue? And if they've nailed that, then hopefully that means they can let the shackles off Siri, etc., and go off to the races on there. So I'm excited for that. I think that could be something that we'll see. And for me, the one that I always get excited about is iPad OS. iPad to me is one of the most important tools I've ever had. Like you've said it yourself, like instead of bringing a notepad and pen to a client meeting, I always bring my iPad. I've even started now with the client's consent. If I'm in a face-to-face meeting, I'll just set it to do a little recording as well. So I've got that copy of it, because the recording of our Teams meetings have been absolutely important to us going forward. Like just being able to grab that, go back in, grab whatever we need to is so useful, so much more efficient. So I think the evolution of the iPad could be huge. I think this is the time when iPad steps up and becomes more useful. We've just had a release of Final Cut Pro, which is the editing software, the video editing software on there. And that kind of shows what the power of the iPad can be if you give it the right tools. So I'm wondering what's next. I'm excited to see what's coming up. And every time a new iPad OS or iPhone OS, and even back when I was working in accounting practices, as a full-time job, I'd always jump on those and find out how that can be useful to us. To the point where when I was working for my last firm, I was straight onto IT the day that WWC was on. It's like, is there any chance we could just look at this and see if we can implement this and bring this into it and everything else? Because that's what they're bringing this software in for, right? They're bringing it to give us new opportunities to help us actually do our work in a more efficient manner. So yeah, it's always worth keeping an eye on it, seeing what's there. And I do think that this year is going to be AI driven. So it should give us an opportunity to see what that next step's going to be, and how someone like Apple, who never first to market, but always come normally with an opportunity to become best in class. So let's see exactly how that works.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of AI, then I've been playing with AI again. So I thought we'd have a quick chat about AI because we spoke about it a couple of weeks ago, didn't we? And that was a well listened to episode, shall we say? That a lot of people were like, "Oh, actually, that's a really," they were quite intrigued by what we were doing with AI. And I think back then I'd used it to try and word some phrases and help edit some emails and get rid of. It was I was sending an angry email to a client, and it managed to rephrase it in a professional way. But what I was playing with this week was basically revamping and improving our internal wiki. So if anyone that's not aware, we have a Wikipedia for on-point accounting. So in this database, which is stored on Notion, it is a series of pages where we have all the information that in theory we ever need. It's normally just straight from my brain into into Notion, and it's very much reliant on me. I normally just put in like, I need to talk about this at some point. I need to talk about that at some point. I never flesh it out. And there's loads and loads of the tabs I've got coming soon, because it's an idea I've had and I've not actually done anything with. Well, in the space of about 3 hours, I completely populated the whole of our wiki and updated it using Chat GPT. So I thought I'd just go through that and kind of what I'd asked it to do. So we have to remember Chat GPT doesn't talk to the internet. It doesn't know anything since 2021. And it's not good at numbers. So one thing I did try doing is I threw in a monthly profit and loss from QuickBooks. I exported that as an Excel sheet, copied all the columns, stuck it into Chat GPT. It could do the basics. Like it summarized, like, this is how much you've done in income. These are your outgoings. These are the biggest. This is the biggest income area, followed by this, this, and this. It did that, but it couldn't tell me, like, month on month what the growth in any percentage terms was. It could just go, yeah, it's increasing month on month, but it couldn't tell me what it was increasing by. And that's because it's a literacy algorithm. It's not a numeric one. So it still does have its limitations, but how much time do we potentially spend on developing materials for our team to read and work on, and our working processes and systems? So I literally went on to Chat GPT onto the website, and what I really like about it is you can train it at the start, and I've got a few different conversations so it knows different scenarios. So I've got one scenario where you're a senior accountant in a UK-based accounting firm. You're training a new accountant in your firm. So I've set the scene. I've then said, right, develop a training outline for whatever topic it is. So I did self-assessment, PAYE, corporation tax, annual accounts, working papers, etc. So it created a training outline for each of those topics, and it was very good. It's like, oh, I hadn't thought about that bit, and yeah, actually we do need to cover that. And I suppose I just subconsciously don't think about that because it seems an obvious thing that surely someone knows, and maybe they don't. So it was a really good training outline. And then I said, right, now take this training outline and create a detailed reference guide that the new accountant can refer back to while carrying out the work. And it did it, and it did it very well. Very, very little editing needed by me. The only major editing was it likes putting Z's where S's should be because it's a bit American.
Yeah.
The recognized was spelt with a Z instead of an S, that type of thing. And then I said, right, now create a FAQ document for this topic. And it literally went through, these are the 15 most regularly asked questions about payroll or about self-assessment tax return, etc. So in the space of 5 minutes, I've now got 3 documents for this topic to base everything else off. and I've populated it onto my Notion account, which is my Wikipedia for my business. And I was just sat there thinking, this has just saved me so much time. I don't know how many tens of thousands of words it wrote on my behalf on Friday morning, but it was a lot. And then from there, I then asked it, do you understand what the accountability ladder is? And it gave me a short explanation. I said, right, taking the context of an UK-based accounting firm where the client is the focus, generate a document explaining to staff members the accountability ladder and how they can use it to deliver our cause and values. And it did it. Like any acronym I could come up with, like there's all these different management and leadership acronyms in the world, like SMART objectives. Explain what SMART objectives is. It produced a one-page explanation for me. And I'm just suddenly, right, I've got loads and loads of training materials for my team to now dip into when they're curious about different topics without really doing anything myself. It was rather good. And my team were all like, these training materials are great. They give me a very broad understanding of what it is, and then we can do it in more detail. It just saved so much time. Now you're using the Bing AI, I believe, which is Chat GPT, but it's connected to the internet. Is that right?
Yeah, scary thought, isn't it? Yeah.
Exactly. How are you finding that?
Absolutely loving it. And I think it's interesting that we're both using different aspects because we can get different experiences of how they've gone. I think yours is going to be a more streamlined, and it's probably going to be more accurate. I'd assume in terms of kind of what it's coming out with, because you're going straight to the source, right?
Yep.
Mine it's grabbing that, but also grabbing the internet and trying to meld them two together. So you kind of got an interesting blend, let's say. But it is scary. Like one thing you'll always say that holds yours back is it can only go so far, isn't it? I forget the date, the cutoff date, but there's a certain date.
September 21.
September 21. Brilliant. So your information is only up to there. I can type what's asked the accountant and it will tell me in Bing. And it's that whole idea that you're then, because it's now looking at the internet, it's been able to find answers for itself and be able to understand and bring those questions in. Now, I would say it's probably not as accurate because there are some things I've kind of come back and thought that, well, that's completely not right. Put in, say, Johann, for example, it will say he's a World Cup medal winner, for example, and the thingy. I was like, well, not quite right. But yeah, I understand that it's got it from this context. And it will tell you why it got to that assumption. But because it's not curated as much and because there is that unlimited amount of data there, you're only as good as what the data's come through, right? Like Wikipedia is a great example there. Yeah, Wikipedia we all love and use, but we've always got to be a little bit cautious and remember that it's only as good as whoever it was that edited that particular piece of information. But I am like super excited with what it can do. And I was talking to a client actually last week, and we were just talking about AI and how that works. And he was telling me that for him, it's completely changed his week. Like he used to have to send proposals out, and he used to block a whole day out for proposals at the end of a week. And it would literally, you would sit down and he knew that day, whatever day that was going to be, was his proposal day. And he would sit there writing all these proposals out time and time and time again. And now we would just put it into Chat GPT, get a nice framework, build it together. And it's gone from one day to a quarter of a day. And like now we can spend that other time doing other things. What we've started using it for more than anything is, we spoke about Teams and recording the video chat and everything. Well, we'll get the AI then just to come out and give us a brief overview of what it is. And that brief overview is what goes into the meeting notes. Yeah. Link to the full video if they want to, but who's got time to watch a full hour-long meeting, right? But a nice little brief overview of what's there. Brilliant. Everyone's on page. Everyone should be able to see that. And what's clever then is the AI can also read that. So if we need to reference it to something, oh, by the way, the client told you that on this meeting at this time. That's pretty cool, right? So that's where we're starting to really push it for. I think what I use it for the most, and I think this is where we've got to challenge ourselves of how we use it, is if I've ever got any kind of content block in socials, if I've got a post I need to put on LinkedIn or a video I need to do on YouTube, I like to quickly throw it out there, see what kind of templates it should be. And then my job then is to grab that template and put it in my language and put it how I would want to do it. Maybe try and make it more entertaining or whatever I can add value to it. And I think that's where it comes really powerful. Like you said, throwing out those templates for you, then gives you that kind of framework to go through and add your value to it. And I think that's where, when you kind of mix the two together, that gets really, really exciting, doesn't it?
Yeah. And so like one of the things I did was I said, create a process for how you register for a limited company in the UK, or create a process for how you register to be self-employed. Include relevant links in relevant steps. Buff, done it, seconds. It's like, it would have taken me ages to write that, and I'd have missed steps. And, it's like, if it can do that.
You'd have had to test it, then go back again, then come back again.
Yeah. So it was, it saved me a ton of time. LinkedIn posts, I keep putting in things to ChatGPT to create a LinkedIn post, and it's just so far off the mark for me and my personal posting style.
Yeah.
So it throws out loads of emojis. It's too hyped up. It's too long. It's just not in line with me and my tone of voice, etc. And
I must admit, that's where Bing becomes quite exciting for me. And I think that's why they've got that nail right, because on the right-hand side, you can dictate, but very much like Grammarly, what your style needs to be. So what I would tend to do is, like, maybe I've got an idea in my head, I'll put it into it and it'll do it. And I'll write it my own. Ironically, I'll probably move it to Grammarly and write it in there so that it's actually spelt right. I'll write it in Grammarly, and then I'll go back to Bing and I'll say, right, can you add emojis or whatever to this? Make this more, that's where I find it powerful to kind of, you take it away, you do what you need to, then put it back in there again. And it's clever enough to kind of go, right, okay, I see what you've done. And even it takes like your feedback and says, oh, I didn't like that. Okay, what about this? And then, I like that bit, but what about this bit? And it really does work with you. And I think that's where Bing's got something really clever when they've built theirs together. I think that's where it comes in quite useful.
I think, Paul's just put in the comments that if you can also train ChatGPT to know about your writing style.
Okay.
What's very interesting is, if you were posting prolifically and you had loads of blogs and stuff pre-September 2021, you can ask it, do you know so-and-so and their writing style? So, for example, you might go, do you know J.K. Rowling and her writing style? And ChatGPT will go, yes. Create a post using that writing style here. So you can train it today, but that requires you to understand what your writing style is. And that can be quite hard to know yourself, never mind explain to something. Whereas if the internet had enough of your information prior to ChatGPT getting turned off, it could look at LinkedIn, understand what your posts and tone of voice were, and go, right, this is your normal type of content, this is your tone of voice. I'm now going to suggest to you what to do. So I don't, can Bing pick up social media? Does it class that as too personal?
Yeah, no, and it will reference it as well. You can kind of say, respond to this post, and you'll just put a link into the post, and it could like kind of bring that in. And Bing is just like Google, has got X amount of data on you anyway, so it already knows what you've done and where you've been and everything else. So yeah, saying that, we've not tried it yet, but Google would probably be the one that would absolutely dominate this, right? I think it's called Bard, isn't it?
Yeah, I tried signing up for Bard and it wouldn't let me. So I'm obviously not exclusive enough for their little club, but I might have a go at Bing and just say, look, review my LinkedIn profile and write a post in this style and just see what it comes back with, because that would be quite interesting, I think.
Yeah, and it's definitely got that capability. That's what it is. And actually, LinkedIn's owned by Microsoft, right?
Yes.
Yeah. They'll probably see more than you can.
Definitely. Okay, let's have a look at our comments, because we've been a bit neglectful.
Definitely.
So Paul W. Yeah, so we'll start with
no, that
Stuart.
wasn't it.
No, we'll start with Paul. Get there eventually. Paul's got a few clients that are makeup artists and such on his books that are in major films and TV shows. Would have to get an invite onto the set one day.
Do it, Paul. It's
incredible.
I am so like now I watch programs and I just like so much more appreciative of what happened to get to that point. Something as simple as one of the ones he invited me to was a night shoot, and then to me I was like, oh, you just turn up and you'll be probably done. No, literally, you turn up at 5 o'clock in the evening, and it was what was it? It was at 7:30 the next day when we were we were able to go, sort of thing. And yeah, it was scary. And also definitely get yourself on set, because the amount of business I got from that couple of days, it's been insane. It's everyone's just going like, oh, I didn't know I could do this, and my accountant's never asked this. It's one of those things where, because you're on set and can see what the problems are going through, you can problem solve for them, solve those questions, and you build those relationships with them. So yeah, highly recommend doing it, Paul.
Definitely. And you know what, you learn so much as well for your own skill set, like for making videos, social media content and stuff. Once you see how they do it for Hollywood, you kind of go, well, actually, we need to boil it down a bit, but that same approach can be done for us. Stuart says, good morning, both. What's with this working on Monday stuff? Yeah, it's quite nice, isn't it, not to have a bank holiday again? There's been too many bank holidays for my liking. Kirsty, good morning to you. Always a pleasure. BADR, Aaron.
Entrepreneurs Relief, basically, isn't it?
Yeah.
New Entrepreneurs Relief. So
Yeah.
Business Asset Disposal Relief.
That's the one.
Yeah.
I still refer to it as Entrepreneurs Relief. But yeah, so yeah, you get 10% off your first million, and then is it 20 or is it 20? Is it just capital gains?
It just jumps into capital gains. There's no other relief that is there. So it depends on what your capital gains is going to be, isn't it? So
yeah. So yeah, the first million for you that you sell your business for, your shares for, you'll get 10% tax on it. After that, it is subject to normal capital gains, not just a fixed 20%.
Just be careful, because there's some transition issues if you've already used Entrepreneurs Relief, blah blah blah, and you're trying to use the new one. So yeah, just seek advice on that one, because that's the sort of thing where a half an hour proper conversation with an accountant who knows you inside and out, you could save a lot of tax, and there'll be a lot of opportunities there for you. So yeah, do seek advice. Definitely worthwhile. Most accountants won't charge you too much for it. So yeah, it's worthwhile on that one.
Yeah. So Paul says AR would be more acceptable in public, first because it's not all inclusive of your vision, like the HUD systems, etc. I think augmented reality is going to be very powerful. And you know what? It'd be nice that everyone wears glasses. Like, remember when you were at school and you were kind of the odd man out for wearing glasses?
Harry Potter. How many times? Come on.
That
would be the guy without glasses. It's like, oh, you're not cool.
Augmented reality.
Yeah. I tell you what, though, even for us, is there a world? Does this work? Like, we're trying to figure out how to do remote working properly, right? And we're still struggling to figure it out. Is there a world where you go, oh, you've got a problem? No worries. Let's just hook up to your AR kit, and we can tell you exactly where to click here, there, everywhere, and everything else.
Software queries for client engagement would be so much easier.
This is it. Exactly. Kirsty says.
Kirsty's been listening to the Stephen Bartlett Diary of CEO. He had the ex-CEO of Google on last week, and he was talking about AI and what he can do. And yeah, Kirsty was saying it was really scary what he could do. I mean, it is very scary what it could do, but the power you could harness from it is incredibly exciting. I think AI is probably the most exciting tech to come to the world, but also the accounting industry. For the accounting industry, I always refer back to AI as the next thing after OCR technology, where we could read documents with software. So yeah, AI for me it's the big, incredible tool that's going to make life just so much better. Will I use it to analyze my emails and create responses? I don't know. But if it saves me spending a day creating training materials and documents and procedures for my team, so I can go out and spend that day with clients or have the day off, whatever it is, then yeah, that's a huge benefit for me.
I think the big one I'm looking for now, and I've been thinking about this for a while, is who's going to be first to market that creates that AI for us that will automatically go out to a client, ask for information before the deadline. You know, maybe you VAT information, and it'd be context based on what that client needs, and then checks what the client's brought in to see if it's accurate or not. You know, is it the right date range? Is it the right this? Is it the right that? And as that to me, if someone can develop that area of it, that's the game changer, right? Because how much time do we waste going back and forward with clients? And this isn't us adding any value to them. Like, the value is once we've got that information, we can then analyze it and do something with it and do an accounting role. But just that administration of let's make sure we get the right information in and let's bring it there. If we can get that at scale, whew, that could be absolutely a game changer, right?
Definitely. I mean, I don't think AI is going to cost anyone their job in the accounting industry. I think what it's going to do is re-engineer and refocus us on what we do. And that is spending time with clients and giving them better value.
Yeah, definitely.
So we've then got Paul. He loves the Bing AI and the fact that it shows reference links as well. You know what? Between you and Paul, Aaron, I think I'm going to be converted to Bing at the end of this. I tried playing with Notion's AI yesterday, and it didn't go well.
It does make me laugh, doesn't it? Because when was the last time you binged anything? And now that's the first one I go to.
I know. I think that's the problem. My biggest resistance to it is I don't remember when I last looked at Bing. I think I was in the IT lab at school.
In fairness, though, Bing must know a lot about you now because of LinkedIn. So, if anything,
in theory, yeah,
you know,
probably too much.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Lennox wants to know: can you use your personal debit card or credit card to fund business expenses if your business banking hasn't been set up yet? Yeah, you definitely can, Lennox. Just keep a track of it all, keep a record of it all. If you're a limited company, it's classed as a director's loan. You're lending the money to the business. If you're a sole trader, it's classed as capital introduced to the business because you've spent the money for the business.
In most circumstances, you can add the personal debit and credit card to QuickBooks Zero, whatever you're using, can't you? So that makes it easy on yourself. As a limited company, I would say just to really, cross the dots and dot the I's and everything else, just do an expense claim form. Just, here's the expense claim for X, Y, Z, and put that through, just like you would, anything else if you're a limited company. It's not 100% necessary, but it will just means exactly that you'll be allowed to have it, and it just makes it easier on yourself.
Yeah, so Paul's just talking about ChatGPT there and the fact that you can train it about your writing style and tone. And if you write me a proposal in the style of J.R.R. Tolkien, it will do that for you.
I think that's a better reference than what you said.
Rowling. Yeah. Can you imagine an accounting proposal comes into you as a potential new client written in the style of Lord of the Rings? I mean, wow.
My client who was on the lives on a thing, and
oh dear, it'll be like this, wouldn't it? It'll be a beast of a proposal because he's overwritten it, which ChatGPT is already very good at overwriting things. So LinkedIn user, unfortunately,
Bard.
Oh,
so let us know
is
how
the
that was.
Google one, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
We use a combination of ChatGPT and Bard. Bard is either brilliant or completely wrong. Combining the two seems to get a better result for us. Yeah, this is why I think Bing might be more powerful here. I mean, that and Bard won't let me in.
I wonder what we made Kirsty laugh at.
I don't know. Daily.
Our fault for not being on top of it.
Yeah.
That's what we need AI for going forward.
Yeah. So Stuart says, regarding AI, I've not jumped on the paid version of ChatGPT yet, but thinking about it, worth it if you're using it. You know what, though? I'm not using the paid one either. I'm just using the free ChatGPT. So if you go to OpenAI, that's the website, you can create a free account. The only thing that it won't do is it doesn't chat to GPT-4, which has got more reasoning behind it. And if ChatGPT, the free one, is busy, it just takes a little longer to get your question answered. But like I noticed it, on Friday, every now and then it started stalling a bit, and it was like, oh, it's thinking it, and then I just press resubmit, and it goes, and there you go. Like I just caught the timing slightly wrong. So yeah, I wouldn't see any need to pay for it, but as you say, it is a business expense if required. And another great use for ChatGPT I've found is soft coding for Power Automate. No more guessing, trial and error, just builds out simple automations in seconds. Fantastic.
Yeah, it's a great use. I mean, you say people aren't going to lose their jobs, but I got to where I was because I was an Excel whiz. So I've got a feeling now my Excel whiz isn't going to get me far, to be honest.
Yeah, I did see a video where it said that if you ask ChatGPT to do, so if you export a QuickBooks profit and loss, take a bit of coding and put that into the Excel sheet, it will then highlight all the various information you've asked it to highlight. And it's like, oh. But yeah, again, it needs that creativity and imagination behind it to know what to think. Oh, I could do this or I could do that, and I'm just not there with that. Andy Wainwright, will either of you be acting as John O'Connor going back in time to stop Armageddon?
I think it's too late.
Yeah, we're past that point. We're waiting for ChatGPT to create the time machine.
Hey, what we want to do is hope we have jobs when they take over.
Yeah,
there is something for us to do.
Yeah, Ashley Leeds, computers have not cost accountants and bookkeepers jobs yet. Exactly. Computers have only ever enhanced and re-engineered what we're doing, and we just spend more time with our clients. It happened 10 years ago. It's going to happen again now. What is this Bing that you talk about? Well, yes, it's a bit old school, but I tell you what, can you imagine the success story if Bing becomes the biggest search provider and it destroys Google after all these years of dominance by Google?
Isn't it, if that actually happens? I mean,
it's like the F1 all over again. Mercedes doing really well, and then Red Bull just come and smash them apart.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we said it before, but imagine Ask Jeeves now comes back. I mean, that would be. Yeah. I mean, and it's a serious money as well, isn't it? So yeah, Bing is ChatGPT 4. So yeah, it makes sense.
Cool. Right. Well, next? that has filled most of the hour, hasn't it? I think AI is just, if you're not looking at it now or in the next few months, I think you're going to be far too far behind to benefit from it to the same level that everyone else is that's looking at it now. It's one of those things you really want to be trialing and erroring as an early adopter, so you don't miss out on the opportunities. But yeah, it's certainly an interesting topic that we will be coming back to time and time again, I'm sure, once we're both redundant, because ChatGPT's just done a set of accounts for us. In fact, did you see ChatGPT's just passed the Chartered Accountant exam in America? They put it through it again. Without any training, it failed. But once they trained it, it passed. And everyone's like, oh, well, you had to train it. It's like, yeah, but what do you spend 3 years at university doing? Being trained to pass the exam.
So there's still hope for us yet that we could be a ChatGPT trainer. That's one of the roles that we could get.
Certified ChatGPT trainer. Yeah.
Now that now, if I was you.
But yeah, so yeah, no, ChatGPT and AI in general is just incredible. We are very much looking forward to seeing what comes out from Apple today, and the bank balances aren't. My bank balance is already sweating and twitching about the idea. But hey ho. Aaron, what have you got coming up this week?
So this week's going to be a really busy week. So tomorrow I'm at Get Connected. Is it Get Connected? I always get confused about their branding on this.
Get Connected, yeah.
This is the Get Connected one, right? The roadshow. So basically, this is we had the London Connect back in, when was that? That was March. So this is their on the road roadshow, and we're going to be. Well, I've got 2 speaking spots on the day, so I'm looking forward to that. And most of my time is going to be about talking about the new accounts production and pro tax. So, yeah, if you're interested in that in any capacity, then please do come along. It's free of charge. Yeah, it's free of charge. Yep, tell them that. And we're in Birmingham this time, and next week we're in Manchester. So, yeah, really looking forward to this. I think, just being able to have another little roadshow, another little get together with QuickBooks will be worthwhile. So, should be good. And then towards the end of this week, I'm back in London again. So yeah, we've got a busy week coming up, and even more busy next week. So yeah, two busy weeks, but it'll be worth it. So it's all good. What about yourself, Johann? You got anything exciting planned for this week?
So I'm at home for the whole week, working from home, obviously. But it's very client engager focused this week. So on Wednesday we are releasing, probably Wednesday night, but we're releasing automated emails.
Oh, okay.
So if you think bookkeeping, like VAT, for example, due in 1 month, 7 days, email goes straight out to the client saying, right, your VAT period's over. Let's start getting your stuff together. A couple of days later, you've not sent us anything. A couple of days later, you've still not sent us anything. A week to go, send it or you're going to be in trouble.
Is AI driven a possibility later down the line, maybe?
I'm playing with the idea. I quite like Engager AI as an idea. But yeah, we're playing with it. It's not there yet. It's very early days, and we've got bigger tasks to tick off the list between now and the end of this year. Yeah. But next year, I wouldn't be surprised if we introduce an AI kind of tool.
And when you think about the big boys not being able to properly implement it yet, the fact that you're even having those conversations means that you're probably at the same stage they are, if we're completely honest.
Exactly. And we're also introducing our status update emails. So basically you think, right, team members completed a phase that then tells your head of accounts to review a set of accounts, but it can then also go, right, and do you want us to send an email to update the client? And you've got a template saying, hi, we've just finished the working papers on your accounts. Our head of accounts is now reviewing that. This would normally take 5 to 7 days. So it's like your pizza tracker on Domino's. I was referring to it as the Amazon delivery tracker, but Andy Wainwright pointed out it's like the pizza tracker at Domino's. And I really quite irritatingly like that analogy of, we've got your order, we're prepping your order, we're baking your order, we're doing quality check, we're sending your order. So we're giving our users the ability to have that kind of status email update for their clients, which is really exciting. So yeah, my whole week is kind of focused on finishing testing that, getting it rolled out, and helping our users to use it basically, and get some ideas about how they can implement it in their firms. But yeah, that's my week really.
I love it. And my one kind of thing I'd love to see if that, because I can't think anyone who's really doing that properly. But I've always wanted to see that in the client portal. Like the client could log in and go, oh, that's where the status of my so-and-so is. That's where that is, But yeah, we'll see if that can be implemented. We've got a couple of comments to finish off on. Kirsty says,
VAT for group accounts. It was in a Facebook group. I think you said QB Advance could do it, or did I dream that? QuickBooks Advance, that's your wheelhouse, Aaron, not mine.
So technically group account is now part of QuickBooks Advance, but I wouldn't believe the hype. It is QuickBooks' attempt to do it all via Excel, which got Johann very excited during Accountex North until he found out exactly how it was implemented. So currently group account is on the roadmap as something that is definitely going to be a QuickBooks Advanced feature. I'm not 100% confident that their first implementation is one that's going to work very well, because at the moment it's very much you connect multiple accounts to Excel and then all talk to one another, which is fine. I've been doing that using Google Sheets. I've been using that for a while to do group accounts now. It works, it's okay. But I do believe that there's something better coming down the line. So I think it's watch this space, unfortunately, Kirsty. From a VAT point of view, though, I can't imagine that's going to come very soon. I think they need to get the group account element sorted first and then think about that for group. So unfortunately, it's still for our group accounts ones, we're still using bridging to do it. So dump into Excel, add it together, and then bridge it over using the license. So yeah, not what you want to hear, but yeah, I think it's at least it's on the horizon. Paul then goes on to
his staff are very excited about automated emails, as they should be. I have had great fun playing with these for the last few days. And status emails will also keep us on our toes. Yeah, in a status email, you're making a commitment to your client.
Yeah, it's like soft deadline versus hard deadline, right? Like huge soft deadlines are they're more important to me than hard deadlines, and that's because that's what I've told the client, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly, definitely. And Kirsty, thanks you for your honesty as always. I think you've cost us any sponsorship deals with QuickBooks, but thanks for your honesty. But yeah, right. Well, fantastic. So we've got busy weeks ahead. And then next week we are back at 8:30 on Monday morning, where we will probably be talking all things digital accountancy show, because that is what is happening next week. So yeah, tune in for that. If you're listening back to this, why not join us live on a Monday morning at 8:30 on any of your favorite social media platforms? But of course, as always, we will launch the podcast on a Wednesday morning. Normally it's silly o'clock in the morning, so it'll be there for when you wake up. And if you've got any feedback or comments, please stick them into the links that have just been posted into the comments of wherever you are watching this from. So I think that summarizes it quite nicely, Aaron. Very interesting episode, especially about AI and the future that has for us. Not in the future, but almost today. It's in the present, isn't it? So yeah, very exciting. And Ashley says, have a great week, guys. You too, Ashley. Will be tuning into your Wednesday podcast, I'm sure. So yeah, thank you very much. And Aaron, I'll let you hit the button for the credits.
Cheers, everyone. Have a great week. Bye.
Thank you.